Wheels Off podcast. My name is Kay Wheeler, and I want to thank you for joining me for episode number 5 in this series. This week's song that you just heard is called Catching Lightning by Alex Mastronardi. So you get a chance to go look him up on your favorite platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever. Go look at some of these up-and-coming artists and content creators and go and support them as best you can. So before we get into today's stuff, and trust me, there's a lot of stuff to discuss in this one, let's just kind of go through the most obvious thing. The Wheels Off podcast is moving from every other Friday to every Tuesday through the end of the SimFBA season. Every Tuesday at noon Pacific time, you'll be able to find it on your favorite platforms, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundWave, YouTube, whatever. You'll be able to find us every Tuesday at noon from now until the end of the SimFBA season, which should be sometime around probably February of next year. So just go ahead, do me the favor, hit the like, the subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, hit the notification bell, leave me some comments. Let's get the algorithm going. Would really appreciate the help and patronage. And with that, let's get into today's stuff. So today we're been covering the SimFBA, a little bit of news. I told you last episode to get to it this time. We got to talk about contract extensions. We need to talk a little bit about the draft lottery and how my Utah Jazz did not get the number 1 pick. I don't know, but spoiler alert, we didn't get number 1. We got number 5. That's okay. Still get somebody to help. We're going to get a little bit into the tail end of spring games, week 3, Sim NFL preseason week 3. And then we're going to get into college football. We're going to look at the week 0 game. We'll get into week 0 of the Sim college football season, take a look at a couple of key games, talk a little bit about the potential offensive and defensive players of the week for that. And then we'll also get into the first of the 2023 Sim college football preseason Associated Press poll. So we'll take a little bit of that. And then we'll move into the first week of the Sim NFL, which starts this Thursday. Yes, this Thursday, June 1st. Sim NFL week 1 starts with a great game on Thursday Night Football. You're going to want to make sure you pay attention, hop on Discord, watch that one live. Then we'll get into the draft grades for the last 6 conferences. Yeah, I know I was trying to do one a week, but you know what? Season's on us. We're going to do all 6, talk a little bit about them, and we'll just kind of wrap things up. So before we know it, let's go ahead and get going. Let's see where we're at with this. Basketball first. Here are the first round of contract extension signings. We had 6 teams signing 7 people. I always like seeing athletes getting paid, especially when it's what they're worth. A big one being the Supermax contract that the Rockets gave Ollie Courier, 3 years, $108.75 million. It's good that people get paid. I like it when people get paid. Let's just put it that way. Really like it when people get paid. Timberwolves signed Clyde Frazier for 4 years, Jamel Bacon for 3. The Nets getting Casey. Gotta love it. Person with 2 first names. Gotta love it. Wayne Perry getting his due, 4 years, $118 million. Just some amazing stuff. So understand there's going to be week 2, round 2 of contract extensions probably coming out today, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, but I'll know as soon as it hits, and I'll get those numbers to you in the next episode. But what we're really looking for when it comes to the SimFBA, contracts are great, people getting paid, but let's look at the future coming in. Who is getting the first shot at the number 1 pick? All I tell you is the team that does probably should be learning Chinese, because that's where the best players coming from is from overseas. A little bit of a project, but you know what? He can also play right now too. And the team getting that is the Oklahoma City Thunder. They had probably one of the lowest percentages of the top 12 to get this, and they got number 1, followed quickly by the Raptors, Philadelphia 76ers, the Lakers. My Utah Jazz got the 5th, which is the worst that we could do. We got it. Phoenix Suns, Timberwolves, Hornets, Hawks, Bucks, Cavaliers, Pacers round out the top 12. The full list is actually on the SimFBA.com website. Go to the NBA section, go down to draft, and it will have the draft picks, including all the first and second round picks, who owns what. Obviously, the Vancouver Sea Lions are at number 32 and 64 because they won it all. So you can do the math from there and figure out who's got what. But this is the SimNBA draft lottery results for the top 12. As we get going, just to let you know, the SimNBA will probably be doing its free agency and draft late June, probably into mid-July. So understand the season's a little bit late compared to the others. It's designed to be offset. There's a little bit of work doing. Right now, the development team is focusing on Sim NFL and Sim college football, and then they'll get to the basketball. If those people that do college basketball, they have been running exhibition games on the Sim college basketball live thread every couple of days. So pay attention to that. Maybe get your name in there, test a couple of things out with the new game plans and interface, and see. So before you get in the season and complain about it not working, test it out now. So let's get into it. Sim college football and Sim NFL week 3 of the preseason or spring games, depending upon which level you're at. When it came to it, there's a lot of things going on, but let's talk college football. Now, spring games are okay. Saw some very close games. People were testing things out, new schemes, new players and positions, different blitz packages, etc., passing, whatever, do well. But that leads from spring week 3. Any injuries that happened up until that time are now wiped out. We are now in week 0. Some of the first week games were moved up to week 0 to be like the kickoff classics and such. And we had 14 games in week 0 with 3 games of note out there. Most of us watched it live on the Sim football feed. We got to talk about some of these new AI teams. This off season, we expanded to include more conferences. I think we're up to 14 conferences now. We have people like Florida A&M, Prairie View A&M, Arkansas Pine Bluff, Alabama A&M. We have some historically black colleges. We have basically all the FBS and most of the FCS schools involved now. And we saw 2 AI teams, University of Arkansas Pine Bluff and Florida A&M University down in Tallahassee, duking it out. Everybody knows these new FCS teams are not going to be as high level as the player-controlled teams for the last 3 or 4 years. But you know what? They played a heck of a game. It was a defensive battle through all the way towards almost the end of the third quarter before Florida A&M finally pulls it out with a 17-12 victory. But I would tell you right now, if you play Arkansas Pine Bluff, you get a tough fight ahead of you. I'm telling you right now, whoever's got them on their preseason thinking they have a cupcake, they may have a cupcake, but understand that cupcake may not be filled with chocolate frosting on the inside. Just saying, they may have a little bit of a poison pill for you. And then we had the Developers Bowl game, I call it. Week 0. Week 0, we see Penn State leaving the confines of Happy Valley, flying across the country, landing somewhere, and then driving to the Palouse and playing football in Martin Stadium against the Washington State Cougars. A defensive battle between 2 of the top developers for the site, in Tuscan Soda and Rocket Can. Unfortunately, the Big Ten did not represent well and came up short in a 14-7 loss to the Washington State Cougars, and then had to fly all the way back across the country to go back home and sit and think about that. So, let you know, we saw a great game between those 2. It's always fun to watch when 2 of the developers play, whether it's in Sim NFL or Sim college football or basketball or NBA. It's always fun to see this. Everybody kind of roots for everybody because these 2 gentlemen put a lot of their own time into things. And we like to see them have fun along with us. But the game to talk about, the game that's going to change things in the Big Ten, was Northwestern traveled all the way up to Central Michigan. Northwestern went up there. Nobody really took them serious. Nobody was sure who from the Big Ten West is going to be out there, but I will tell you wholeheartedly right now, it is Northwestern's to lose. They're the driver's seat of the Big Ten West, and their 33-24 victory over Central Michigan this last weekend was highlighted by not one, but two possible players of the week. Two possible players of the week. We'll get to those here in a second. So going into week one, here are some of the games that I find top 10 to pay attention to, not in any particular order. You have number 5, Kentucky, traveling across country to go to play the boys at Southern Cal. Then you have UCLA and J.M. Jacobs flying his boys across the country down to Houston to play number 19 Houston. D-Stack takes off, crows across the state line, goes into Fayetteville, Arkansas to play Arkansas, who beat Arkansas State pretty handily last week. Get to see them play the Razorbacks. Georgia takes off and goes up to the Big House in Michigan. Number 12, Georgia visits Michigan here this Saturday. And we see Tulane go to Utah State, Florida go to Clemson, University of Miami, the U travels from Miami to Corvallis, Oregon. We know that would never happen in real life, but in the Sim Football Association, it happens a lot. And I'm going to tell you right now, Pac-12 North, pay attention to Oregon State. They are going to be a team you're going to want to watch out for. They are going to be tough defensively, and they're going to be explosive offensively. Please mark my words right now. Pay attention to them. And then we get to see Maryland travel to number 3 Tennessee. Number 3 Tennessee had a vote for number 1 overall. T. Sweezy's got it going well up there on Rocky Top. So we'll see how that goes to see if Maryland can handle that. And then we get to watch Ole Miss travel across country to San Diego State to the ever dangerous Pump. I mean, I know he's got a lot going on, real life officiating, then multiple Sims. We're going to see if the San Diego State team's ready to go or not. This is a good test for you, Slap Your Basil. You're going against one of probably one of the better statesmen of this game, whether it's the old site or the new site. You got a person that understands this stuff and puts his heart and soul into these things. So we'll see how you do with them. And then last game we have is Nebraska going across the state line to play number 22 Kansas. To give you an example, they're playing for the girl that's behind the tree. And if you've ever been through Nebraska or Kansas, there's no trees. So those are some of the games to get to. But let's talk about potential players of the week. Offensively, we saw 2 games that just kind of stood out. Now, quality of competition is different between the two. I'll talk about that here in a moment, but both people did an amazing job. We have Francisco Diaz, the senior quarterback from Northwestern, leading the Wildcats over the Central Michigan, up in Central Michigan in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, 33-24. He went 20 for 28, 236 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That's a 71.4% completion rate, folks. And if you take a look at the math, 8.2 yards per attempt, 11.8 yards per completion. So every completion was a first down. He led his team. He had several people he was working with, to Kennedy, the receiver. We saw passes and a strong running game from Tony Bonifacio, running back from Northwestern, 21 carries, 92 yards, several catches. So, I mean, Francisco Diaz ran this like a senior would run a football team. He had full control of this. But not to be outshone, Arkansas as at home in Fayetteville. They're protecting their home field, and they're playing in-state rival Arkansas State, winning 34-14. But in that process, redshirt senior running back Elijah Wendelken, 21 carries, 168 yards, 2 tutties, adds in 2 catches for 27 yards and another touchdown. Yes, that's 3 touchdowns in this game against the overpowered Arkansas State University. Right now, I believe Vendelkin is reading into Players of the Week. It closes Monday night. So by the time you guys hear this, we will know who the Offensive Player of the Week for Week 0 was. My odds are it's Elijah Wendelken, but Francisco Diaz is just as deserving of this. Remember, I told you Northwestern didn't have one, but two people possibly for Player of the Week. That's because junior strong safety Jalen Jones goes out in that 33-24 victory and has 11 tackles and 2 interceptions, working inside the box, covering tight ends, backs, receivers, kind of doing a little bit of everything, and showing up and showing Central Michigan that the pass defense of Northwestern is going to be tough. And being in the Big Ten West with Wisconsin, I'm paying attention to that game very closely. But then we have Daniel Jones from University of Alabama, Birmingham, the cornerback, the senior, who has 12 tackles, 12 tackles, 1 interception, and 1 touchdown. Yes, he was playing University of Louisiana Monroe. They win 34-13, so quality of competition is part of it. But as a former defensive back coach for over 30 years, if I have a corner making that many tackles, that means he's being thrown at. He's being tested. He may not have started last year, but they are testing him this year, and he stood up, took the best that UL Monroe could throw at him, and showed him, don't throw at me. So if anybody plays UAB this year, pay attention, don't throw at Daniel Jones. We will know on Tuesday who wins. Right now, I think Jones is slightly ahead, or maybe even tied with Jalen Jones. I can tell you one thing, Jones is winning. So whichever one, you're not going to go wrong. My bet is Jalen Jones takes it, but we will see. Okay? So here we are, preseason Associated Press poll. Number 1, Baylor, with the benefit of having 2 first-place votes to Florida State's 0 first-place votes. Florida State is stacked talent-wise, but when you watch the spring games, you question it. I wonder how much of that affected their ranking. So top 10 are Baylor, Florida State, Tennessee, TCU, Kentucky is in top 5. Then defending national champion Alabama got 2 first-place votes and came in at number 6. Yes, they lost Chris Williams. Yes, they lost their starting quarterback, but know what? They're just reloading. They're not retooling, people. Central Michigan is now number 7 with 1 first-place vote, even after the loss to Northwestern. Remember that. Northwestern beat number 7. So do that in your thinking for next week. UCLA, Bowling Green, and Tulsa round out the top 10. Then you see going from Ohio State through Boise State, you see everybody else ranked here with the number of points that they have. And I am not sure how the tiebreakers like at 16, 17, and 2021 went, if there's like strength of schedule or something, but maybe whoever designed this, I think subsequent, maybe get back to me, tell me how the tiebreakers happened on this one. But here's your preseason Associated Press college football poll next Tuesday at noon Pacific time. Next Tuesday, I will be debuting Week 1 Associated Press college football poll before it even gets printed on the website. So subscribe, like, notify, show up next Tuesday to see if there's any changes to the top 25 for the college football. All right, so Week 1 of the Sim NFL is this Thursday, and we got a doozy to start it off. The Dallas Cowboys are be traveling down to Washington, to our nation's capital, playing the defending Sim NFL world champion Washington Commanders on Thursday night to kick off the 2023 Sim NFL season, followed by Sunday night, the Battle for Ohio. 10-6 Cleveland travels to 12-5 Cincinnati for the see who can get the leg up on the AFC North. This is going to be a game to watch. Both teams have sold out in the draft and in free agency and in trades to win now. So this is a game you want to definitely tune into other than your own, folks. And then Monday night to end the first week, we see the Philadelphia Eagles fly all the way across to the West Coast to play the Los Angeles Rams, the tough, hard-nosed East Coast mentality going against the greatest show on turf there in Los Angeles on Monday night. So that's your first primetime games for week 1 of the Sim NFL season. So let's get into draft grades. I told you I'd be doing NFC North this week. We are, but we're doing them all as well. We're doing all 6 that I have not done yet, and we're going to see where they're at. So instead of doing each team's list one by one, I picked out the best player I think fits their scheme and I think is a steal or the best fit for them. And each one, along with a grade. And I understand these grades are subjective because one, not knowing all 1,500 potential draftees by heart yet. That'll change for next year. This is all subjective and it has a range. Chicago, I love Pat Flexen, the speed back out of Texas State. This is a home run for them. I'm not sure about the rest of their picks. I'm still not sold on Jackson Freitas at wide receiver. I mean, if he does well, then this goes from a C+ to probably a B real quickly. But I went with a safe bet above average because I love Pat Flexen. I think he was a steal for them in 3rd round. Detroit with J.M. Jacobs, he took the one guy I had at the top of my list. He was at the top of my list. Austin Bledsoe, who we'll talk about, was number 2 on my list. Both went, but I love this kid from University of Louisiana Lafayette. Jacob Carlin is a perfect fit. Yes, Detroit has an older defense. He'll fit in. He'll have time to learn from some greats, but he will also be a contributor this year. And then Green Bay with the worst kept secret of the entire mock draft and pre-draft and draft time. They took the tight end Ramik Phelps from Virginia, an excellent wide receiver at tight end. I still think they could have gone a different way and improved more, but I do like their draft overall. I gave him a very strong B, maybe to B+, depending on how Phelps plays out if he starts and how they use him. He does have the flexibility to play wide receiver, slot, tight end, and running back to catch the ball out of the back. But we'll see how they use him and work him in with everybody else. And then Minnesota Vikings had 18 draft picks. You didn't hear me wrong. 18 draft picks. They would have had more if I hadn't traded up for one of them. But their 4th rounder, Ryan Hicks, will make everybody go, why did we not pay attention to him? This kid last year playing for a SimFBA team, I believe, at inside linebacker had almost 100 tackles. Yeah, double-digit tackle for loss, had a couple sacks, a couple interceptions, a couple passes defended. This was kind of a do everything. I know some of the people are like, hey, I'm just looking at the numbers, the overall and potential and ratings, but you got to look at the production. The kid did the work. He put in the grind, and Minnesota got a steal with him in the 4th round. Because of that, that's why I have them at a B+. We get to NFC South. Atlanta had probably one of my top 5 favorite drafts. I absolutely loved how they played that. Devonta Zoyle, 6th round, scrambler quarterback, played him at running back in the preseason. I like this pick. I like Reggie Igubuke. I like the first couple rounds, very solid, addressed some needs. The question is once the position penalties come in and you play somebody out of position, is this a quarterback or is this a running back? And if he becomes a running back, how does it affect his stats? How does it affect his ability to do things? Right now, he's taking advantage of the scrambler buff and the fact that he's lightning fast and teams just can't handle speed yet. For that, I give him an A. No, depending on how things play out, I could see it even stronger A. I don't say A+. I don't think anybody nailed that this year. But I definitely say they have one of the top 5. And then Carolina, 4 first-round draft picks. You cannot screw up 4 first-round draft picks. I do challenge somebody to prove me wrong, but it's very hard to do that. And they got by far the number 1 athlete in Don Scott, the tight end from Temple. He can be played at receiver, slot, tight end, receiving back, can play a little bit of fullback, I believe. And no, I have not looked at his throw power and throw accuracy, but it would not surprise me that he could throw the ball and then kick it too. B+ for this. I liked it. The first 4 picks were great. All 4 from Zach Trawick, Caleb Suarez, you name it. I love these 4 picks. The next 4 or 5, I wasn't kind of ambivalent to. I haven't really researched them enough to say yes or no, but I like the first round picks, and that alone gives them a B+. New Orleans had probably one of the most average records last year. I believe 8-1, 500 all with a tie. And with that, they went out and addressed some needs. Overall, I think they addressed most of their needs quite well. They definitely needed a game changer at receiver. They picked up in the second round Durham Simmons from Western Michigan. Great fit. Question is, do they have the quarterback to get him the ball consistently and the line to protect the quarterback to make sure he gets the ball? And then I know last year they picked up a running back, so they don't have to worry about that aspect of it. And then the only thing is the defense strong enough to get the ball back? B-, B, depending on how Simmons plays, but I definitely like how they did things. And then Tampa Bay, the number 1 rushing offense in the NFL last year. They doubled down in free agency and in the draft, picking up run blocking linemen, and then you give them Chris Williams, the running back from Alabama, the national champion, Alabama Crimson Tide, at running back. It's like throwing gasoline on a fire, folks. Why you let them have him, I don't know, but you know what? I love this pick for Tampa Bay. If you're used to carrying a rock, you give it to somebody who's used to performing at a high level, and that is Chris Williams. Overall, still kind of learning what they're doing, what their schemes are, how their approach is, but solid C+, B-. I like what they did. Then we get to the NFC East. Dallas, I had them mock taking Stephen Matuk in their first round. At number 15, they surprised me taking Alex Henderson, which is a great fit for them because they needed a wide receiver. And then they still take Stephen Matuk from Alabama in the second round. I like what they did. I like what Rocket Can had a plan in mind, and he stayed working on that and got himself as a nice solid A. One of my favorite drafts in the whole draft was Dallas. You have New York Giants coming in with a B+ with Richard Ploko, the offensive tackle from FIU. Very solid, well-rounded, fit the needs and fit the scheme. Nothing spectacular, solid draft. I give Giants big thumbs up, B+. Definitely a top 10 draft for me. I like what you did. And then the Philly, top 3 draft for me, maybe even top 1 between you and Baltimore, to be honest with you. I love all your picks. Party was great. I know you've been paying attention for a long time, but I'm telling you right now, their 4th round pick, Darryl Shaw, gives them flexibility to be in passing or running game. He's a run-first offensive tackle, so they have flexibility on the offensive line now. They just took a strong team and make them stronger. We're going to find out on Monday night how strong this pick was, if this 4th rounder was worth it, if he's going to find time on the field or if he's going to be in practice squad. We don't know. I hope he finds his way on there. He's a mauler. He's a pancake machine. He doesn't really give up sacks because he's asked to run block. I'm looking forward to this. I'm really excited to see how the kid from Colorado State does. And then the world champion Washington Commanders only had 1 pick. Top of the 7th round, they picked up Anthony Fulmer, the man coverage cornerback out of the Western Kentucky, the Hilltopper. Because it's only 1 pick, just like with the Rams, I got to give them an incomplete. And probably an incomplete minus because it's not a 1st round pick, it's a 7th round pick, and I don't really see him staying on the team much. But we'll see. Depends on how he develops and how they use him. I expect to see him on practice squad sooner than later, if not on free agency. So kind of one of those picks I wasn't sure about. Now we get to the AFC North with 2 of my favorite drafts here. One being Baltimore, trading from 1 down to 4 when Seattle traded up and still got their guy, Andrew Jones, by far the best wide receiver in this draft. Kid from UCLA, fast, explosive, high volume of catches, is used to an offense going through him, and gives Baltimore, I know they're trying to probably focus more on the run, but gives them a legitimate threat to go with David Job. They're going to spend the next couple of years bonding, and year 3, I expect to see Andrew Jones, Pro Bowl, Baltimore, playoffs, making serious runs. Cincinnati basically took the first day off. I know they had, I believe, real life work issues going on or something like that. And even then, in the 4th round, they picked up running back Pat Smith, the speed back out of Colorado. Great change of pace for them, allows them to have another weapon to spell some of their veterans. The problem is they didn't have any first, second, or third round picks. I can't give them a really high grade. Baltimore definitely has an A. Cincinnati has a C-. I'm sorry, I don't see it yet. I'm okay being wrong. If I'm proven wrong, I'll be the first one to say it. But I did like Cleveland. They're my 3rd favorite in the AFC North. But I love the Delino Bertollet, tight end from Northern Illinois. I love this pick. I give him a B-. I think they could have addressed some other positions later, but they're in a win now mode. And Delino Bertollet is the top of the 2nd tier level tight ends, along with Connor Pence. He's the other one I'd pay attention to as well. I really like this, and they literally picked him 3 picks before I was going to grab him. So great job, Cleveland. Hopefully you like the new helmet. And then my 2nd favorite in the AFC North, and one of my top 5 overall, was Aaron McNitt, quarterback from Vanderbilt, going to the number 1 secondary in the AFC, giving them strength on strength. So iron sharpens iron type thing. You're adding a high potential to a veteran defense. He's going to have a chance to learn. He's going to play and be positioned to do well. And with the lowest strength of schedule this year, this should be enough to put them into the playoffs this next year. I'm saying it now. Pittsburgh, if you don't make the playoffs, that's on you. AFC South, here's by far my favorite pick, probably my 2nd favorite pick. I loved Austin Bledsoe, the cornerback from Syracuse, going to Houston. Yes, I play against him twice a year, but I was trying hard before Mason jumped on his airplane to trade up to number 8. This is the kid I wanted. I knew Don Scott wasn't going to be there. I knew Rua wasn't going to be there. I knew Suarez wasn't going to be there. But I knew Bledsoe had a chance at 8 because nobody's going to pay attention to him. He was not even mocked at this. I think I had him at 12, one of my mocks. I think he went lower. This is a kid that's a zone corner that can play man. And he can tackle on top of it. This is a kid I wanted to have, and this was an amazing pick by the Houston Texans. I am not looking forward to going against this kid twice a year for the next 5 years. Indianapolis picks up Jakeem Irwin, the wide receiver from Missouri. Excellent pick. I know they're going air raid this year or maybe a pass first spread, but this is just another person we have to go and deal with. I mean, Houston gets an A-. This is a B- to B for Indianapolis, depending on how the other picks play out. Jakeem Irwin was the one I really, really liked the best. They picked up Joe Medeiros a little bit later, a kid from Oklahoma State at tight end. Like mid-rounds. I could be wrong, but I believe they picked him up. But Jakeem Irwin, great pick, is going to be a pain in the butt for the secondaries to deal with. And then Jacksonville, I have to apologize. I spelled this wrong. The kid's last name is Zattel, not Z-Tech. I can't type, folks. Running back from FAU, receiver back, air raid, all out. I know Ricky was up against the cap, wasn't really able to participate in free agency like he wanted to. Traded his picks to be in win now because he went out in the first round of the playoffs last year. He didn't quite make it as far as I did, and he's going all into this. I love this pick of Zettel. I know when they picked him in the second round, people were kind of scratching their head. I know exactly what he's got planned. He needs the best receiver to go with all the other receivers he's got, and this is the best receiving running back right there. And then my Tennessee Titans, we picked up Robert Kennedy, cornerback from Wisconsin. Man coverage, shutdown guy, allows us to do a little bit of things. Because of that, Elway gave us a C+. I gave Jacksonville a C just because they only had 2 picks. And the other fact, I'm always going to rate myself higher than Jacksonville. Just saying, Ricky. This fit needs for us. We were very focused on needs. So I'm excited to see what he does. I expect him to be playing nickelback, if not eventually starting at one of the corners this year. AFC East. Buffalo, another one of the top 5 drafts. I liked what he did. I know when you look at the numbers and you rate them out, they grade kind of low, but I like everything that Minnow did here. He picked everything for what he needed for his schemes. He didn't back off. He didn't change. Jermaine Shuck was a great pickup for them. The quarterback out of Iowa addresses his need, picked him up in the second round, saved some money, gets him a B+. Absolutely love their draft. And then Miami traded out of 13 with San Francisco. San Francisco traded up to 13, picked up Fernando Thomas, the wide receiver out of Tulane. Miami backed out. I'm not sure if Kirby was up too late or not, being in England, but it picks up Jamon McCoy, and I paid attention to him in preseason. He was getting some touches, folks, and he's going to be dynamic. So you got to pay attention to this kid from Akron. This wide receiver for Akron in NFC East, you get to deal with him. So hopefully you have plenty of corners. I know Jermaine Shuck will probably have plenty of battles with him here in the future. 2 great picks with that because they were very average in their draft. I don't know enough about his draft philosophy yet. Could move to a C+, but very solid average draft. The New England Patriots pick up Miguel Peterson, the defensive tackle. Sorry, mistake on my part. Defensive tackle from Central Michigan. Good, solid, run first team, very build from the inside out. I love them picking up a nose tackle that can take up space. Miguel Peterson, I went anywhere from, I think, 16 to 25 on our mock drafts. Couldn't go wrong with anybody he went with, but this is a huge upside. Definitely a top 10 draft for me. I love what New England did here. And then the Jets, as a SimFBA team, picked up probably the most overlooked offensive tackle in the game, and Tony McCura from California. How this kid did not go to the combine is beyond me. Great pass blocker, even better run blocker, extremely smart. They got a steal at number 6 with McCura. So there we have it. There's our draft grades for the other 6. So in order to find us, if you're interested in this, we tell people if you like simulated sports, you like to do things like that, or if you're even somebody who likes to do coding like in JavaScript, come find us on our website at www.simfba.com or catch us on Discord. You can see the identifier there. Come check us out. We're always looking for more people that have an interest in sports, want to do things. And best of all, the community alone is going to keep you there. You're going to love the guys there. Everybody helps. Everybody's competitive. Everybody's interested. And we are very, very close with each other. You'll love the community. But the best part, the game is free, folks. Come on over, check us out. And then for the Wheels Off podcast, you can find us on the following platforms and a few others. You can find the Wheels Off podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Soundwave, and YouTube. So as we get going here, I want everybody to understand a couple things. First of all, if you like what you heard, remember to review and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform. And then if you really are interested with what you heard in today's conversation, share this with a friend and help them find the game. And with that, I will catch you on the flip side.
That's all, folks.